Welcome back. Both J.B. Pritzker and Governor Rauner say they can create more jobs than their opponent if you elect them in November. The governor has a record in office, and his business record has been covered at great length over the past 4 years.
But many voters in Illinois know far less about Pritzker's resume. WCIA3's Capitol Bureau Chief Mark Maxwell is live in our Capitol newsroom in Springfield with an investigative report into Pritzker's efforts to create jobs. Mark, what did you find?
Aaron and Christy, good morning. It's a complicated story. J.B. Pritzker, of course, a very wealthy businessman. Some of his detractors and critics have said he shouldn't have needed any help to come up with money to invest in startups or to grow jobs. But as is often the case, business owners often know how to find those loopholes and levers in government. And we found some of that in these tax documents right here. They show just how J.B. Pritzker used nonprofits and tax incentives and tax credits to attract a bunch of bright minds to a place in Chicago with offering them a chance to strike it rich. It's the crown jewel in J.B. Pritzker's resume, the nonprofit technology incubator 1871.
I founded 1871, which has now created more than 7,000 jobs. In fact, it's going toward 8,000 jobs now.
But since he stepped into the ring to run for public office, his political foes have taken swipes at how the billionaire Democrat got it off the ground.
He took government money to found 1871, and now he takes credit for it.
Daniel Biss has never created any jobs at all, ever in his life, and doesn't have any idea how 1871 was put together.
So how did it happen? On Capital Connection, Governor Rauner, his Republican rival, said he had inside help.
Pritzker got taxpayer money into that by his pushing with Blagojevich.
In 2007, state records show Illinois did invest $1 million into the I-2A fund, co-founded by Pritzker. At the time, Pritzker told the Chicago Sun-Times that taxpayer money would help the entrepreneur who had a good idea but didn't have enough money to quit his day job. But that fund would invest in Sitter City and Signal, two companies in Pritzker's personal portfolio.
And then Pritzker puts his own venture capital partner in charge of 1871 to guide those venture deals to his own firm.
But Pritzker didn't start 1871 until 2012, 5 years later. At the time, Kevin Willer was its CEO and a venture partner at Pritzker Group Venture Capital, overseeing Pritzker's investments in some of the same companies incubated at 1871.
Conflict of interest, unfair to use taxpayer money to create an environment to fund his own venture capital efforts, which have mostly, frankly, failed.
Fair or not, some companies incubated at 1871 are far from failures.
So we're the first company to actually move into 1871.
Spot Hero won worldwide recognition in Time magazine, along with companies like Apple, Amazon, SpaceX, and Spotify, as a top 50 genius company known for inventing the future. It's like Priceline for parking, an app that connects commuters with parking spots at a discount. CEO Mark Lawrence described what it was like when it first got started.
Calling us a business at the time, I think, is giving us a lot more credit. I mean, we had 3 people. We had a few $1,000s a month in parking sold.
According to analytics firm Second Measure, Spot Hero's sales numbers have multiplied 95 times over since then, delivering a massive windfall for early investors like Pritzker.
I feel great that 1871 had the support of J.B. Pritzker because it wouldn't be here.
In June 2016, before Pritzker jumped into the governor's race, Rauner visited that tech hub for himself and then gave it rave reviews.
I've been following the progress here at 1871. It's very exciting. This is a model I would like to see expanded more around the state of Illinois.
The nonprofit does have some advantages, and the big one is there's no income tax.
We sat down with Jim Provenza, an expert in nonprofit tax law, to see what we could learn about 1871 and how Pritzker set it up.
There was some profit incentive, absolutely.
Poring over pages of tax documents, SEC filings, and audits, we found that Pritzker uses a company called TNDP to collect rent payments from 1871, acting like its landlord. I asked Pritzker, how does that company work?
TNDP is simply an LLC, and that TNDP is the entity, it is an entity that I own. I've been clear about that.
He's been less clear about how it makes its money.
The concern is that because JB was a former board member, there arises the possibility of a conflict of interest, which means that the organization, of course, has one interest, which is to pay the least possible rent, and JB wants probably to make some profit on it.
Here's how it works. 1871 charges entrepreneurs for rent and membership. Then 1871 pays Pritzker for that space. That structure is legal, so long as Pritzker doesn't charge the nonprofit higher than fair market value. If a nonprofit abuses that structure to reward insiders, it could face fines, violations, or even see its tax-exempt status revoked by the IRS. In this two-page letter, the Pritzker Group CFO said there is no profit and never has been, calling it a direct pass-through to pay for rent, furniture, and other expenses. But Pritzker's company is turning a profit somehow, enough to make big political donations and land on his statement of economic interest. But how it makes that money, still a closely guarded secret.
Those would all be in a Schedule C, which we'll probably never see.
And why is that?
Same reason that Trump hasn't disclosed. There's something there that he doesn't want people to see. It may not be something terrible, but it's something that politically might be damaging.
I interviewed dozens of people researching this story, getting it all together. Some of them asked, why bother tell a story like this? For us, it was several reasons. One, fact-finding. Another, fact-checking some of the criticisms and claims from Governor Rauner, as we did there. But also, it was an exercise of transparency. Right now, we've seen, of course, in the past, J.B. Pritzker support this idea of public-private partnerships, this world that blurs the line between business and government. And now he seeks to leap across that line from business into government, raising one big question. Will he embrace a more open, transparent system, or will he cling to the more secretive world that he's known in business? Aaron?
All right, Mark, so you looked into this for months, and now we are just days out from the election. How do you see this information affecting what happens between now and then?
Well, voters to this point are mostly informed. Of course, a lot of voters have seen ads already. This really teaches us a little bit about how J.B. Pritzker has conducted himself in the business world and how he's used different tax incentives or tax structures to his advantage, but also to help other jobs grow. So really, I think it may tell more about what we might see in a Pritzker administration should he become governor. It might tell us more about what happens in 2019 than it would tell us about what happens on November 6th.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for that report.